A while ago, I posted some thumbnails that my dragons had voted on, and I developed 3 of them into final illustrations. They were the Serpents and the God, the Vampire Penthouse, and Dragon Slayers in the Nephilim's Colosseum. But of course, there's one left. I'll admit I toyed with the idea of not finishing this set off, just to drive people crazy. Then I realized that I would be the one driven most crazy. So, let's do it. Since I'm being candid, I also thought about not finishing this one because I felt like it was the most complicated. The great beast laziness was stirring under the surface of the waters, and that was the best reason for me to attempt to tackle this thing. Starting off, I found an image of an upside-down turtle shell, scaled it up to gigantic antediluvian proportions to use as a carriage. Using my thumbnail sketch as a loose guide, I started trying to figure out the actual poses that the various characters would be in. At this stage, it's all about performance and gesture, as well as figuring out some solid anatomical structure for everyone. I thought I'd be able to wing it, but decided to lay down some perspective lines, just to help me figure out everyone's proportions in relation to each other and the background. I probably spent too much time trying to figure out a good placement for the carriage wheels that we aren't going to see. But I figured that if I know where they are, the final image will help you believe I know where they are. With all the major elements roughly sketched in, I could work on a more intentional pencil stage. This is where I'll try to make some more firm decisions about everything. Each stage is a bit daunting. You try to make the best decisions you can to set yourself up for success in the next portion of the process, but you never really know if it's going to work. I just tried to stay organized, keeping all of the elements on separate layers so that I could adjust as needed. Once I had everything penciled in, I adjusted the values on everything to make sure it all still read clearly enough. Part of the challenge of this image is that it's supposed to look like a chaotic mess without actually being a chaotic mess. While we let the inking play out, I have an exciting announcement as well as some housekeeping. First, the announcement. I'm going to be moving into story mode. World building and visual development is a blast, but without a story, it can swiftly sour into wheel spinning. I'm not sure what form it will take. That's part of the fun of opening up the development process. The next video will be focused on the first stages of creating a short episode of Dead Gods, so stay tuned. For the housekeeping portion, if you like where Dead Gods is going and you want to help it to become a real thing, there are a few ways you can be a part of that. First, I have a Patreon. You can join for free and then decide if you want to back what I'm doing later on down the road. Second, YouTube has buttons that make it happy. If you could click those for me, that really does help. Or you can leave a comment. Tell me what lost antediluvian technology you'd specialize in if you had the choice. Third, you can buy your own copy of Tellurian, my previous graphic novel project, and hard evidence that I finish what I start. It's an adventure story told entirely through visuals like a silent film. There's swashbuckling, a prison break, romance, a palace on the moon, rescued princesses, and it's all interwoven with themes about courage and the transformative power of fatherhood. If that sounds like something you want on your bookshelf, the link is below. With the inking stage complete, I took a step back. As mentioned, I'm trying to make this image look chaotic without it actually being so chaotic that it doesn't work. I recently realized that I've been sleeping on the line weight lately. I haven't been leaning on it as heavily as I could. So at this stage, I went back in and used a heavier line to help bring some depth and clarity to the overall image. This extra line weight pass should help to group the different elements, making them easier to understand without taking away from the feeling of being a pile of bodies moving at unsafe speeds. The color stage is pretty straightforward. I'm purposely trying to keep it simple. When the time comes to start creating the graphic novel, my priority is story. I'm a huge fan of the old Prince Valiant comics by Hal Foster. In those, the line does most of the heavy lifting, and color acts as support. This was a restriction imposed by their printing process, but it's highly effective. For this project, it's all about weighing priorities. I love a beautifully rendered image as much as the next person, but it would take me a decade to get one episode out. For this image, I've added some reflections to certain elements to make sure they pop, and I also added the dust being kicked up from the carriage. I tried a few variations on the carriage passengers' clothing. I like the idea of unifying them, and in the end, I thought white worked best. I capped it off with some hazy streetlights, as well as some moonlight filtering down from above, and did some last-minute touch-ups and color grading to really tie the room together. And with that, we have the final image. A Nephilim and his entourage entertain themselves by recklessly speeding down a city street in a colossal turtle shell carriage. With this image done, my set is complete. These 4 images were meant to help establish the tone of this world of high adventure and antediluvian debauchery. They're not all-encompassing, there's a lot more that could be covered, but I think these 4 shots make for a good glimpse at what could be. The original inspiration for these came from an edit on YouTube, combining Lana Del Rey's song Art Deco with footage from The Great Gatsby. The feeling captured in that edit was exactly what I want to strive for in the civilized portions of Dead Gods. Empires that feel invincible, not knowing that they're at the crest of a great wave. Thanks for watching.